Welcome back to Reds Fusion LFC, your home for all the latest Liverpool breaking news, transfers, and inside updates. Today we've got a massive deadline day special. Isak to Liverpool takes a dramatic twist, Marc Guehi's saga sparks. Fresh headlines, and Dominik Szoboszlai makes a big admission about Trent Alexander-Arnold. Stick around, because this one is absolutely unmissable. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated with every twist and turn in the transfer window. Isak transfer agreed as Liverpool books deadline day. Medical Newcastle has agreed to sell Isak to Liverpool after the club bid $176 million for the Swedish striker, after originally declining the Reds' offer of $150 million. Newcastle has agreed to sell Isak to Liverpool after the club met the Magpies' bid of $176 million early Monday morning. Despite previous assertions that Isak was not for sale, Newcastle made it clear that if Liverpool were able to match the price set, the star would be free to leave. After initially offering $150 million for the striker, which the Magpies declined, the Reds matched the valuation, landing the Swede. Before the move is completed, however, Isak will undergo a medical Monday. The signing comes after it was reported that Brentford slapped an $88 million price tag on Yoane Wissa, who was a target of Newcastle for much of the summer as a potential replacement for Isak, which made a potential move complicated. David Ornstein shares late update on Liverpool move to sign Newcastle star Isak Liverpool. And Newcastle have ramped up talks over a deadline-busting deal for Isak, according to David Ornstein. The Reds have made the Magpies star their top transfer target for much of this summer after sealing early window deals for Jeremy Frimpong, Milos Kerkez, Hugo Ekitike, and Florian Wirtz. But Newcastle have been adamant they wouldn't sell. However, with the Sweden international going on strike and refusing to play for the club again, despite holding talks with club hierarchy and the wishes of his manager Eddie Howe, talks have now ramped up ahead of the final day of the transfer window. Liverpool talks for Isak deal ramping up. Liverpool made their initial move for the former Real Sociedad striker earlier in the summer as they tabled a formal offer worth 110 meters, which Newcastle immediately rejected. Since then, talks have been ongoing, but no new bid has been tabled. However, that could now change on deadline day ahead of the 7 p.m. cutoff, with Newcastle now holding out for a fee of around 130 meters and working off the idea that the 25-year-old will leave St. James's Park, a big come down from their previous 150-meter valuation. Liverpool and Isak have already agreed on personal terms over a deal, and the Magpies are hoping that Liverpool will meet their asking price to put an end to this ongoing saga. But Ornstein says that there is no guarantee that Liverpool will go that high on Monday if they are to make an offer, although talks have ramped up on Sunday. Whether a deal can be struck or not remains to be seen. But it's clear that all parties are open to finding an agreement before the 7 p.m. deadline on September 1st, and Isak is now edging closer to getting the move he has been holding out for all summer. Arne Slot finds new Liverpool undroppable as Richard Hughes targets huge double transfer. Even at this early stage of a campaign, some victories just feel significant, and on a day when Manchester City had already lost further ground with defeat. At Brighton, Dominik Szoboszlai's moment of genius against Arsenal was enough to remind anyone who might have forgotten that it is Liverpool who remain very much the team to beat. Lot has been spoken about the Premier League champions' start to the season, much of it in negative tones, and while plenty has been fair and even-handed, the discourse has at times been out of sync with a team who had actually won their first 2 fixtures against an intense Bournemouth and a scorned Newcastle United under the white-hot glare of the St. James's Park floodlights, no less. There have been areas to assess, things to tweak and parts to improve, of course. But, as has been so readily pointed out by Arne Slot, the Premier League is now arguably as strong as it has ever been, and few games can be navigated successfully at half speed. This one, of course, was always going to be fixture that required the highest levels of concentration and application, and while we are still in August, this 1-0 victory, courtesy of the Szoboszlai stunner, leaves Slot now riding high into the international break as the only unbeaten manager. There's a reason this lot are champions, despite the early season critiques. Compare this term to last season's games with Bournemouth, Newcastle, and Arsenal, and the Reds have actually amassed 4 more points than the corresponding fixtures. Not bad for a team still adapting and adjusting to a summer of high turnover. The first half was, like Monday evening on Tyneside, characterized by a cantankerous crowd and action on the pitch that often resembling wrestling matches. It came and went with few real talking points. Slot had admitted his side had been undone too often by set pieces in recent weeks, and with the Gunners widely known as the leaders of exposing the opposition from dead balls, the 8 corners might have been cause for concern from the dugout. But the hosts defended them well, with Milos Kerkez in particular enjoying his best outing in a Reds shirt. The Hungarian was superb throughout, with 2 of the more robust and relatively unadventurous fullbacks around in Riccardo Calafiori and Jurriën Timber, aided by a midfield trio of Mikel Merino, Declan Rice, and Martin Zubamendi. Liverpool found it tough getting into their stride offensively, with Arteta happy to sacrifice the supply line to Victor Gyökeres in favor of it keeping it tight. Clearly Arteta, who once likened an Anfield blitz to being caught in the washing machine, was weary of a similar fate here. The Reds started to get the upper hand in the second half, but Mohamed Salah was guilty of 3 heavy touches when trying to steady himself, to shoot twice from Florian Wirtz, who grew into proceedings before pulling up with what Slot claimed was cramp. Newcastle make bombshell Alexander Isak U-turn as they name price for Liverpool. Transfer Newcastle are willing to sell Alexander Isak on deadline day if they receive a bid of 130 million from Liverpool. Despite previously maintaining that the Swede wouldn't be sold, Newcastle will seriously consider letting Alexander Isak leave for Liverpool if they receive a bid of 130 million on deadline day, despite previously claiming their striker was not for sale. The Swede has made it clear he wants to leave St. James's Park, but the Magpies will not let him leave unless their valuation is met, and have already turned down an opening offer of 110 million from the Reds, reports The Telegraph. Newcastle's Saudi owners have changed their stance late in the day and will alter their stance if a British record fee is tabled. It would be the second time on one summer that the Reds have broken the record fee, having signed Florian Wirtz for 116 million. Throughout the summer, the Magpies had claimed that they would not be prepared to let Isak leave for less than 150 million. But their late change of heart shows a willingness to put an end to the saga. Isak has made it clear after missing the club's preseason tour with an alleged injury that he believes his time at the club is over. He's since put out a statement accusing the hierarchy of broken promises, which has also further motivated his desire to quit St. James's Park. Newcastle themselves still want to bring in more firepower despite completing the 69 millimeter club record signing of Nick Woltemade from Stuttgart. That move was significant, as they had failed to land a number of their attacking targets throughout the summer. Those in charge of the transfer business accept that Brentford will not sell Jon Wissa, and Wolves are extremely unlikely to part with Jorgen Strand Larsen. They continue to scour the market, but acknowledge at this late stage that sealing any deals will be unlikely. Arne Slot fueled the potential of some late business being done by Liverpool, despite spending huge sums already, as he said, "I don't think it's a surprise that we are trying to see if we can strengthen the squad." Dominik Szoboszlai makes Trent Alexander-Arnold admission after Liverpool heroics. Liverpool had midfielder Dominik Szoboszlai to thank following their win over Arsenal, after the Hungary midfielder scored an unstoppable 30-yard free kick late in the game. Dominik Szoboszlai made the most of his chance to step up for free kick duty by plundering a majestic winner from range to help Liverpool make it 3 wins from 3 in the Premier League so far this season. The reigning champions were frustrated by Arsenal at Anfield before Szoboszlai stood over a dead ball in the 83rd minute. The Hungary midfielder would unleash an unstoppable 30-yard strike to decide a cagey affair in a match which could have significant title repercussions come next May. Szoboszlai was by far Liverpool's standout player and admitted he decided to throw caution to the wind with his late effort from range. But he may not have had the chance to step up at all had Trent Alexander-Arnold not moved to Real Madrid this summer. Luckily, we could practice some free kicks. I felt this was a bit further. I was like, I'll take the risk, he told Sky Sports post-match. I was confident in myself. I tried it. Finally, I've scored from a free kick. When you practice all the time, now I should mention Trent, because he was taking the free kicks in the past. Finally, I could have my chance and did it. When he was asked further about the technique, which was likened to that of Cristiano Ronaldo, Szoboszlai added, "This shot I didn't practice in the past few weeks because we were shooting closer. I had to take a risk and shoot a little bit harder because I knew Raya likes to jump behind the ball. It's an unbelievable goalkeeper. If it goes a bit more inside, he saves it." While Arsenal came up short and ended up leaving Anfield empty-handed, they are expected to once again challenge Liverpool for the domestic crown after another near miss last term. Szoboszlai paid tribute to the consistency Mikel Arteta's men have shown in recent years and tipped them to challenge again this season. They had an unbelievable season last season and, of course, the two before that as well, Szoboszlai said. It's a compliment. Always to keep on going behind with City with us is really hard, and they always do it. They have an unbelievable team, unbelievable coach. Marc Guehi shares true feelings on Liverpool saga after turning down Crystal Palace request. Marc Guehi is one to watch on the final day of the transfer window with Liverpool pursuing his services, and the England defender appears to be going out on a high from Crystal. Palace Marc Guehi has attempted to block out growing speculation of a move to Liverpool after what was potentially a dream final appearance for Crystal Palace. The defender has long been linked with a move to Anfield, and the Reds could make a final swoop for him over the final day of the window. Palace would seemingly be open to selling, with Guehi having just 1 year remaining on his contract at Selhurst Park, but they are holding out for a reported $40 million. Despite the summer speculation, he still started and captained Crystal Palace in their 3-0 win versus Aston Villa on Sunday. He also scored a stunning goal to help secure victory for Oliver Glasner's side. Asked how he was feeling amid the transfer furore, the England star said, "I'm okay. I guess so. I don't like the limelight. I'm glad I have a good club and good teammates around me. When you focus on what is important, the football, it makes it a bit easier." Guehi celebrated wildly after finding the net for Palace. Speaking about his goal and the resultant celebrations, he said, "It's a blur. I can't remember much. When you score goals like that, it's down the team performance. The credit should go to the team." Guehi added, "I was tired. So much running. It's important we stay humble. We'll see what the future holds." Meanwhile, the defender also made his affection of the club very clear. He said, "The club means a lot. I'm a South London boy, grew up in South London, and captained the club from a young age. They have been fantastic to me and my family. A pleasure to play for this club." Despite his dream evening in the Midlands, it appeared that Guehi was not keen to be at the forefront come the final whistle. He was ushered to the front of celebrating players by goalkeeper Dean Henderson, but Guehi refused, preferring to stay back and take in the applause with the rest of his teammates. Elsewhere, boss Oliver Glasner offered an update on Guehi's future before the trip to Villa.